right, thanks, guys. I will be posting videos throughout the day. There are a couple college basketball games I do want to touch on, and we will have NBA and NHL coming out a little bit later in the day. So it looks like we're going to be spending our early afternoon together here as I'm flipping through games, going through some lines here. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive into some college basketball. And we're going to go ahead and begin with Wisconsin taking on Tennessee. Now that's going to be a 1:30 Eastern tip-off in that game. The Volunteers are the 3.5-point favorite, total at 121 and a hook. We did see a 1-point fade of Tennessee and movement downward on the total. The Vols open 4.5 down to 3.5. Total open 122 down to 121 and a hook. 62% are leaning Tennessee, 63% shaded toward the over. Right now, Wisconsin is plus 150 on the money line. Now, Wisconsin is just 2-4 straight up in their last 6. They're also covering just 30% of their games in their last 10. Now, Tennessee, on the other side, they rank in the top 10 in the nation in points allowed. They're also in the top 25 in defensive field goal percentage. Now, 6 out of Tennessee's last 7 home games did stay under the number. So I'm going to purchase the 0.5 point, slide it down, and lean Tennessee -3 in the under 121.5 in that contest. Next game, we got it on the big screen in the back. I'm talking about Louisville taking on Kentucky. 3:45 Eastern tip-off in that contest. The Wildcats, believe it or not, they are the 2-point favorite in this matchup here. Total at 131.5. We actually saw a 1-point move toward Kentucky. We saw movement downward on the total as well. The Wildcats open as the 1-point favorite up to -2. Total open 132 down to 131.5. 55% of the consensus are leaning toward Louisville, 66% shaded toward the over. And right now the Cardinals are plus $1.15 on the money line. Now if you like Louisville in this matchup here, just keep in mind they're taking on a Kentucky squad who's 6-2 straight up in their last 8. And of course those 2 losses coming against top caliber squads. Kentucky ranks in the top 35 in points allowed, top 25 in defensive rebounding. 3 out of their last 4 games did stay under the total. Meanwhile, Louisville 5-1 to the under in their last 6. I'm going to lean toward Kentucky in this matchup here. Give me the Wildcats -2 and the under 131.5 in that contest. Next game, Eastern Washington taking on Weber State. 4 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. Eastern Washington is -2.5, total 149 and a hook. We saw a 0.5 point fade of Eastern Washington and movement downward on the total. Eastern Washington opened -3 down to 2.5. Total open 151 down to 149 and a hook. 61% are leaning Eastern Washington, 52% shaded toward the under. And right now Weber State is plus 130 on the money line. They've also failed to cover the point spread in 6 out of their last 8. Meanwhile, Eastern Washington, just absolute scoring machines. They rank in the top 3 in scoring. I actually think they put up nearly 80 points against Gonzaga not too long ago. Unfortunately, Gonzaga went well over the 100-point mark. I think they scored like 122 points that game. But anyway, Eastern Washington does have the ability to put up some points. And of course, conversely, they are 6-3 to the over in their last 9. I think this is a pretty good spot for Eastern Washington backers. I'm going to lean Eastern Washington. I believe they're the Eagles, -2.5 in the over 149.5 in that game. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Saturday's college basketball action. Happy Saturday, guys. The weekend is here, although I think the weekend started for a lot of folks this past Monday as we have Christmas and New Year's falling on Wednesdays. So definitely extended weeks, extended vacations, extended weekends for a lot of folks out there. But not for us degenerate gamblers, man. We don't take any days off, especially today. We got a lot of great action. But anyway, before I dive into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/brockpage, where once again we do daily premium selections on that site beginning at just $1.99 per month. We have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to on that site. And, you know, you may be wondering, well, why would I subscribe to Patreon when you're giving me the picks for free right here on YouTube. And that's a great question. That's a great concern. Essentially, what we do here on YouTube is we handicap almost every single game on the board, both the side and the total. And of course, there's a problem with that because if you were to bet your hard-earned money on every single game, side and total, you're guaranteed to lose your money in the long run. And as a matter of fact, you're probably going to end up losing your money in the short run as well. There's too many games. The math is against you. The books are too sharp. They're too smart. It's just too many grenades out there. So what we do on Patreon is we really kind of narrow it down and focus in on 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And whether we're hot or cold, I'm going to tell you, out of the entire lifespan, the course of me running Patreon, my current record on Patreon is a whole lot better than it is handicapping every single game here on YouTube, throwing darts, picking games with my eyes closed. So anyway, we don't take free passes here on YouTube. We don't, say I take this team or pass or this is a stay away game. We formulate an opinion on every single game here on YouTube, but in real life, we do not bet every single game side and total. So that's what Patreon's for, to really narrow it down and kind of focus in on 3 to 4 premium selections per day. Now, you can check out my current record for free right now, and that is on the homepage on Patreon. Link for that site is in the description section below. Once again, that is patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, we do have some more free lines of personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time, so let's go ahead and get into them. And our next game is actually going to be Hofstra taking on James Madison, 4 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. Hofstra's minus 2.5, total 159. We saw a half-point fade of Hofstra and movement downward on the total. They open as the 3-point favorite, down to minus 2.5. Total open 161, down to 159. 56% are leaning Hofstra, 51% on the over. And right now, the Dukes of JMU, they are plus 130 on the money line. Now, JMU shooting just 42% from the field this year. They're also allowing 75 points per contest on average. Meanwhile, Hofstra on the other side, nice little 3-game winning streak for them right now. They also successfully covered the point spread in 7 out of their last 9 qualifying games. Now, James Madison, 6 out of their last 8 got over the number themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and lean Hofstra minus 2.5 away from home and the over 159 in that contest. Next game, another bizarre one. Northern Colorado taking on Portland State. 5:05 Eastern tip-off in that contest. Northern Colorado, they are the 1-point favorite on the road, total at 148.5. Now, we did see a half-point fade of Northern Colorado and movement upward on the total. They open 1.5 down to minus 1. Total open 147 up to 148 and a hook. 61% are leaning toward Northern Colorado, 56% shaded toward the over. And right now, Portland State, I believe they're the Vikings. It's the Viking Arena, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, Portland State plus 102 at home. They're also 5-2 against the spread in their last 7. They rank in the top 35 in scoring. This team can put up some points. Now, Northern Colorado on the other side, just 3-4 straight up away from home this year. They also went 2-0 to the over in their last couple of games. Portland State, no surprises here, 70% to the over in their last 10. I got to lean toward the home dog in this one. Give me Portland State plus 1 and the over 148.5 in that contest. All right, next game, teams you may be a little bit more familiar with. I'm talking about Belmont taking on Western Kentucky. I know they're a little bit more obscure teams, but you tend to see these teams in March Madness. But anyway, Belmont taking on Western Kentucky, 7:30 Eastern tip-off in that matchup. Another tight one, Western Kentucky. They are the 1-point favorite, total at 151. We saw a half-a-point fade of WKU and movement downward on the total. Western Kentucky open 1.5 down to minus 1. Total open 152.5 down to 151 even. 58% are leaning Western Kentucky, 61% shaded toward the under. And right now, Belmont is plus 105 on the money line. They also failed to cover the point spread in 5 out of their last 7. Meanwhile, Western Kentucky, undefeated at home this year, 4-0 straight up as the home team. They're averaging 80 points per contest, and they're shooting 49.3% from the field. Now, Western Kentucky is 70% to the over in their last 10 as well. I'm leaning WKU minus 1 in the over 151 in that game. And I'm going to slide to my next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be not on our big screen in the back, but that's okay. It's going to be UC Riverside taking on Fresno State, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that contest. Fresno State, they are the 7.5-point favorite, total at 122. We saw a 1.5-point fade of Fresno and movement upward on the total. Fresno State opened 9, down to minus 7.5. Total open 121, up to 122. 55% are leaning UC Riverside, 73% toward the over. And right now, Riverside is plus $3 on the money line. Now, UC Riverside, you may not know much about them. They're 6-3 straight up in their last 9, and they rank in the top 10 in points allowed in the country. Now, that's not going to bode well for Fresno State backers because Fresno is shooting just 42% from the field this year. They lost 6 out of their last 8 games as well. Now, UC Riverside, 7-4 to the under in their last 11. I'm going to purchase a 0.5 point, buy it up, and lean toward the road dog in this one. Give me UC Riverside plus 8 and the under 122 in that game. All right, let's go ahead and dive into our quick pick recap. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we do daily premium picks on that website, beginning at just $1.99 per month. I like UC Riverside plus 8 under 122. Western Kentucky minus 1 over 151. Portland State plus 1 over 148.5. Hofstra minus 2.5 over 159. Eastern Washington minus 2.5 over 149.5. Kentucky Wildcats minus 2 under 131 and a hook. And last but certainly not least, I like the Tennessee Volunteers minus 3 and the under 121.5 in that game.